And welcome to Daily Red Devil for all of your latest Manchester United transfer news and talk. I hope everyone is doing well today. Before we get into today's show, please do me a small favour. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Let's try and see 500 of those on this episode. And if you are watching for the first time, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Now, the main talking point for today's episode is going to be reports suggesting that Mainoo is asking for £180,000 per week. I want to know your thoughts on this in the comment section below. How much do you think would be a fair wage for Mainoo? Obviously, I'll give you my thoughts as well. So yeah, pause the video, get in the comments now, just put the number in, 50,000, 60, 70, whatever you think the correct figure is. Put that in the comment section below. And yeah, I look forward to reading through all of your comments and kind of seeing what everybody thinks. So the story came out yesterday from Chris Wheeler in the Daily Mail, and he reported that Manchester United have held fresh contract talks with Mainoo. His agent wants a pay rise of 180,000 a week plus bonuses. United are hopeful of reaching a compromise. So it's not even 180,000, it's 180,000 plus bonuses. So that might be if he scores a goal, he'll get money. If he gets an assist, he'll get money. If Man United win the game, he'll get money. So it's probably, I don't know, it probably could be worth anywhere up to 200,000 a week, something like that. Just to give you a bit of context, he's currently earning 20,000 a week. So that would be timesing his salary by 9 times. Now, the simplest argument to this conversation is this. Since Mainoo started playing for Manchester United, which was last season, I think, was his first full season, has he gone from a 20 grand a week player to a 180 grand a week player? During that time, have Manchester United been successful on the pitch? Last season, we finished 8th, scraped through the FA Cup. Remember, went to Coventry on penalties, that Liverpool game where we scored the winner in the last second. And then this season, we're in 14th, 15th even, I think. And does that warrant giving someone a 9 times pay rise? Now, there's 2 answers to this question, and there's 2 different ways of looking at it. From Mainoo's perspective, I would say he does deserve it. And people are probably going to be watching this video thinking, what the hell are you talking about? How can you justify this? And it's the age-old point that I always make with the contracts. It was the same with Bruno in the summer. Mainoo is going to be sat there, looking around the team, looking across the dressing room. Well, not even looking across the dressing room, because the player I'm going to mention now is never even in the dressing room because he's injured. Mason Mount, not even in the England team. £250,000 per week we pay him. Casemiro, probably played less than 200 minutes this season. 350,000 a week. Harry Maguire, 190,000 a week. Rashford was on 300,000 a week. So the amount of money they've asked for is obviously ridiculous, and there's no way on earth he's worth that amount of money when you look at it with your eyes, when you look at it from a footballing perspective. But when you look at it from a business perspective, and you've got Mason Mount, who, how many times has Mason Mount started for Manchester United since he signed? That's a good question. Let's have a look. How many times has Mason Mount started for Manchester United? I mean, this is going to be a horrible, horrible search, isn't it? Is that right? Wow. That is absolutely mental. So in 2 seasons, right? Last season, Mason Mount started 5 times for Manchester United. This season, he started 4 times. In 2 years, 9 starts, because he's just been injured the whole rest of the time. So the point I'm trying to make here, from Mainoo's agent's perspective, who his focus is to get as much money for his client as possible, right? He doesn't care about whether Man United are winning, losing, or drawing. He doesn't care about whether the fan base are annoyed. He doesn't care about the job cuts. His job is to get as much money for his client, which is Mainoo. Okay, so we have to understand the context of this conversation before we go off on a bit of a mad one about it. But you know, he sat there saying, well, Mason Mount doesn't even play for Man United and he's earning 250 grand a week. We think 180 grand a week is reasonable. Or you know, he might say, oh, De Ligt is on 195 grand a week. Maguire's on 190. Bruno's on 300, Casemiro's on 350, Rashford's on 200, and that will be the argument that they're proposing to Manchester United, saying, well, you're paying these other players this amount of money, we want the same, otherwise we might look elsewhere. And we obviously know that there were teams sniffing around Kobbie Mainoo in the January window, including Chelsea. My personal stance on this is, right, I don't think he's worth anywhere near 180 grand a week. It's all good and well, Kobbie Mainoo's agent saying, oh, well, Mason Mount's on 250 grand a week. My response to that would be, if I was Manchester United, I would say we made a massive mistake signing Mason Mount. He doesn't deserve to be on 250 grand a week, and we massively regret this decision. That's what I would say to them. And I'd say, I appreciate that maybe your client feels that this is unfair, but we're not going to pay him 180 grand a week. We're not going to make the same mistakes of the past. Now, what would be more realistic, in my opinion, again, I want you to give me the magic number in the comment section below, is that he goes on the same kind of wage as someone like a Højlund or someone like a Garnacho or someone like an Ahmad. That would be realistic for me. So Rasmus Højlund is on 85 grand a week. I think that would be the absolute max that I think would be reasonable for him, for Kobbie Mainoo. Garnacho's only on 50 grand a week, which is probably fair, I think. You know, does Garnacho warrant earning more than 50k a week at the moment? Not really. He doesn't score. He doesn't assist. He's still young. I think anywhere between 50 and 85k a week would be the absolute limit for Kobbie Mainoo. He's only 19 years of age. And I'm going to be blunt here, and maybe some of you will disagree. I don't think he's unsellable, to be honest. I don't think he's as good as people make out him to be. And I think this is a classic thing in this fan base where we overhype a player as a fan base, right? Which maybe that's good because we're supporting them, but we overhype the player. We put them on a pedestal. They then get a massive contract to Manchester United. And then the kind of truth comes out and they're not as good as what we thought. He obviously is a good player. He's obviously talented, but he's only 19. 200 grand a week or 180 grand a week is the kind of wage you'd earn in your mid-20s when you're an established world-class player. Yes, he played at the Euros, okay, but I also think that he played at the Euros because England's midfield is pretty weak compared to the rest of the team. You know, if you look at, say, England's centre-back options, they've got ridiculous amounts of centre-backs. Like Branthwaite didn't even go. They've got so many good centre-backs. But in midfield at the moment, like, I know there's a couple of new names popping through, but the England midfielder before recently was Jordan Henderson, you know, and he's obviously past it. So just to be clear here, I'm not trying to bash Kobbie Mainoo. I like Mainoo. I think he's a good player. He's come through the youth academy. But if he wants 180 grand a week, I would just say, you know, this is ridiculous. We're not giving you anywhere near that kind of money. If the money is the thing that's motivating you, then we'll sell you. And some people are going to be like, how can you say that? I just honestly think that we need to stop being held ransom by players, especially when we're sat 15th in the Premier League, especially when we're not going to have European football next season, especially when we're having to sack, how many people is it this year? 250 local people who work for the club. It was 200 last year. And then players' agents have the cheek to come to Manchester United and demand a 9 times pay rise. It's a joke. And I would be embarrassed. I would be speaking, if I was Kobbie Mainoo, I'd be calling up his agent this morning and be like, how has this story been leaked to the press? You know, last week we're hearing of people being made redundant. We're being told that people are going to be sacked. We're being told that jobs are being lost. And then a week later, we're hearing that a player's agent is asking for a 9 times pay rise. I mean, can't they read the room? So I hope that Mainoo is calling his agent this morning saying, how has this been leaked? This is ridiculous. Because otherwise it just shows what his real intentions are. But I'd be very interested to see what you guys think. Let me know in the comment section. I can see lots of people getting their comments in. Let's have a look. Quite a few people are saying 95k. Ryan says 80. What else have we got here? A couple of people are saying 120 grand max. John says 80. Johnny says Szoboszlai gets 120. Szoboszlai's levels above Kobbie Mainoo. And realistically, Szoboszlai is a lot further along in his career. It just seems crazy to give a 19-year-old nearly 200 grand a week. Al says Cole Palmer only earns 130k a week and he is twice the player Mainoo will ever be. Yeah, fair. I can't argue with that. Johnny says Mainoo's been injured half of his career as well. I mean, yeah, we haven't even touched on that. Not only is not only is he not the finished product yet, which is fine, he's still only 19, but as you said, like, you look at the injuries. Last season, Kobbie Mainoo missed 21 games through injury. That's a lot. That's a lot of football to miss. And this season, he's already missed 15, and I think he's going to be out for months. So, do we have another injury-prone player here? Maybe. Let's have a look. How long? Does anybody know how long Kobbie Mainoo's injured for? Yeah, I don't know. Does anybody know in the comments? I'm trying to remember how long he's injured for. So the story I've got here says that Kobbie Mainoo has got a muscle injury, which will take around 6 weeks. That was the story that came out this morning. So he's not going to be back for another 6 weeks. By then, it will be mid-April, and there's probably about a month left of the season. So he's probably going to miss another 12 games minimum. And he's already missed 15 this season. So he'll end up probably of missing like nearly 30 games this season. And he missed over 20 games last season. I mean, that's a lot of football to miss. And it's the interesting thing as well is it seems to always be muscle injuries. Obviously, I'm not a doctor. I don't know the ins and outs of player injuries and all the rest of it. But, you know, if a player keeps getting the same types of injuries, that for me is a red flag. Let's see what else people are saying in the chat this morning. Ellen says, I'm afraid to say this, but Kobbie Mainoo looks injury prone. I would agree. And I know that, like, I know that Manchester United fans usually want to back their players till the end, which I really, really like. But I do think that as a fan base, we've massively overhyped Kobbie Mainoo, and that's why his agent feels like he can ask for 180,000 a week. I honestly think he should be on about 50, the same as Garnacho, especially with his injury record. To have missed 20 plus games consecutively in the last 2 seasons, in his first ever 2 professional seasons of football, that to me is a red flag. You know, is it because of the injury department? Is it because of something we're doing? Maybe, but I don't know. Bruno doesn't get injured. Bruno's never injured, is he? I think he's missed 1 game in 5 years at Manchester United. So it's easy for us to always say, oh, it must be the medical department. It must be the players being overworked and all the rest of it. But you have to remember that everybody is built differently genetically. Like, some people are injury prone, some people are not. Bruno's never injured. Remember, he walked off and he had a foot, like a brace on his foot, didn't he? And there was pictures of him at home that evening, and then the next day he played. It's like, it's mental. But yeah, we'll move on from Kobbie Mainoo. Obviously, there's no right or wrong answer. Some people will say give him the money he wants. Other people will say sell him. My final answer is I'd say 50k a week is fair. Put him on the same wages as Garnacho. If he continues to improve, then give him another contract in a few years. But I just think giving him any more than 50 grand a week, based on the fact he's only 19, he's injured a lot, and I don't think he's as good as people make him out to be honest. I really don't. I think in the CDM position, he's average at best. I think further up the pitch, he's definitely a lot better. But, you know, he's not world class, is he? And world class players demand 180 grand, 200 grand a week at the top clubs. You know, like somebody said in the chat, if you look at, say, like Liverpool's wages, right? Let's have a little look. So Liverpool are top of the Premier League. They're, I think, favourites to win the Champions League. At the moment, they pay McAllister 150 grand a week. McAllister's a better player than him. They pay Gravenberg 150. Gravenberg's a better player. They pay Soboslai 120. He's a better player. Trying to see other players in similar positions. Yeah, I mean, the most comparable player, and some people aren't going to like this, but the most comparable player that Liverpool have in their squad is probably Harvey Elliott. I think Kobbie Mainoo's better than Harvey Elliott, but Harvey Elliott just signed a new 40 grand a week contract. 40 grand. So if he's worth 40 grand, I'd say Mainoo's worth maybe 50, 60. And I think that's probably pushing it even. So let me know what you think anyway. I want to react now to some comments from the Manchester United manager, Ruben Amorim, because he has been speaking to the press ahead of our game against Real Betis. And I'm not really sure what to make of these comments, but obviously it is a news show, so I'm going to read it out. Where is it? So he said this. He said, "We lost last week in the FA Cup. People consider the Europa League as now the only competition we can win. There is also the link between the Europa League and the Champions League. But to tell you the truth, I think we have more important things to talk about." Okay, so he said that, right? And then he said this. He said, "I understand what people are thinking because if you look at our team playing and the results, it's hard to imagine great things for our club at the moment. But in the darkest moments, you have to find the light and a way, and that's clear here. I don't know if I'll be there, but the way we think about it, we're going to come back and win things in the future. There's also the risk. We do a lot of things. We don't win games. And when you don't win games, sometimes you have to change people. We know that. But as a club, we do a lot of things that are difficult to do. A lot of staff pay the price for it, but we do what it takes to win in the future." I don't know. Some of the stuff he comes out with at the moment, he sounds really deflated. He's literally just said, the Manchester United manager has just said, "I don't know if I'll be here." Pretty much. Well, he literally said that. "I don't know if I'll be here, but the way we think about it, we're going to come back and win things in the future." I don't understand that. I mean, he's kind of admitting defeat, isn't he? The previous comment, he said that winning trophies isn't the most important thing, and there's more to football than winning trophies. So he says this, right? He says, "I know it's strange to say this, but it's something we're trying to build here, and it's more important than winning a trophy. I know we have the responsibility to fight for every trophy, but right now we're trying to build something that will last longer than any trophy this season." And I get what he means, but at Manchester United, whether we're in our worst spell in a decade or whatever, you still have to be trying to win every trophy. And what he's saying is kind of sounding like Ollie. Like, you know, remember when Ollie said that like winning trophies papers over the cracks and all the rest of it? And I get it. I understand what he's saying. But at the end of the day, what will people remember in 50 years' time? They remember how many trophies you've won. They remember memories of going to Wembley and celebrating with their team. They don't remember like a team playing well for half a season and winning nothing. You know, you just don't, do you? And I think winning is incredibly important in the modern game. What I would say is this. If we were playing really good football and we narrowly missed out on a trophy, I would understand the comment, you know, to say there's a bigger picture here. The team's improving. We're playing good football. They're adapting to my methods. You know, we're not ready to win a trophy this season. I would understand that and I would accept that. But to be playing the worst football I think I've seen in the last 10 to 20 years, to be losing more games than we've ever done in our history, to be in the worst place in the Premier League literally in history, to have made our team worse, and then to come out saying that we're building something bigger and winning a trophy isn't important. I mean, it just doesn't really gel with me very well. And as I said, I just think he sounds defeated at the moment. I don't know. And I think the thing we always kind of simmer over with Ruben Amorim is his contract. And I know people probably forget about this. You know, when we signed Erik ten Hag, he was on like I think it was a 5 or 6 year deal. Ruben Amorim only signed a 2-year contract. His contract literally is up in less than 2 years, which I think is interesting. And I think it didn't really show much faith in him from Ineos. To bring him in, what was it, the end of last year, and to say, here's a 2-year contract. That's not very normal, is it? I mean, even David Moyes, right, at Everton. Let's have a look. I remember when David Moyes was being offered the Everton job, it started off being till the end of the season. David Moyes has got a 3.5-year contract at Everton. And we gave Ruben Amorim a 2-year contract. I don't know. I just feel like there's something a bit weird going on here. And, you know, if we go out of the Europa League against Real Betis and we continue losing games in the Premier League badly, I think it's going to be pretty hard to defend him, to be honest. I want Ruben Amorim to succeed, obviously, but I'm not going to change my stance on this. If you go back to the day that Ruben Amorim was announced as Manchester United manager, right, I said at that time, and I'm not going to change my stance, so this isn't me being reactionary, it's not me being negative, it's just an opinion. I said at that point that I think it's 50-50 whether Ruben Amorim will succeed at Manchester United. And that's not being, negative, because Ole Gunnar Solskjaer didn't succeed, did he? Like, if you look over the last 10 years, I don't think any of the managers have succeeded really, or like properly. Maybe Mourinho, maybe. But I mean, even then he got sacked. So it depends what you actually class as success. But we all know the magnitude of the job. We all know the problems we have, our owners, the debt, the poor squad, the players on massive contracts, the mentality issues. We all know the problems. And I said when Ruben Amorim was appointed, I said, for me, no matter who the manager of Manchester United is, if you went and got Jurgen Klopp today, I would still say it's 50-50 whether he'd succeed. If you went and got Carlo Ancelotti, I would still say it's 50-50 whether he will succeed. So I just don't think now, in the position we are, you can put your hand on your heart and be like, yep, Ruben Amorim is going to succeed. Because we've seen nothing so far. We've seen no patterns of play. We see nothing at all. We just see awful performances every week, worse than Ten Hag. And for him to come out and say today that winning trophies isn't the most important thing, and to also say that he doesn't know whether he'll be here, I mean, that's worrying for me. But yeah. And just to be clear, as I said, I'll reiterate, it has nothing to do with the manager. You could bring in Jurgen Klopp today, and I think we'd be in the same position. You could bring in whoever. Fred says it sounds like he's already thrown the towel in. Yeah. I agree a little bit, but yeah, I don't know. For him to say, I'm not sure if I will be here. I mean, he is an honest man, isn't he? And I do like that about him, but you've got to be quite careful in it with what you're saying. To come out in the media and effectively say that you're not sure whether you'll be here in a few years. I mean, that's not particularly good, is it? But yeah, I'm going to wrap the video up here, guys. It feels like a good point to end the show. Thank you very much for watching. I hope everyone has a lovely day. We might be live later if something breaks, but I'm not expecting there to be any news really today. I think it's just going to be a relatively slow day. Obviously, all of the focus now is on the Real Betis game tomorrow. So I was going to say I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to it until it actually starts, I think, if that makes sense. That's how I feel with every Man United game at the moment. I look forward to the game, and then it gets to the game time, and I'm like, oh, God. But at least it's a little bit of an earlier kickoff. It's at 5:45, isn't it? But anyway, have a great day, everybody. I'll speak to you all tomorrow. Don't forget to like and subscribe as well. Come on, guys. Get the likes up. Get the subscribes in. Help out the channel. Speak to you all later. Bye-bye.